The story begins beneath the endless blue sky of the Aegean Sea, where waves kiss the rocky shores of Athens and Sparta alike. The year is around 800 BCE, a time when scattered city-states were finding their identity, rising from the ashes of the Dark Ages to create a civilization that would forever shape the world. The people of Greece lived not under one king, but in many proud city-states called polis: Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes. Each had its own rules, army, and spirit, yet they were bound by language, faith, and the worship of the 12 gods of Olympus. In Athens, democracy was born. Ordinary citizens debated laws in open assemblies, their voices echoing through marble courtyards. Athenian leaders like Solon and Cleisthenes fought to give people a voice, to replace tyranny with reason and justice. Meanwhile, far to the south, Sparta marched to a different rhythm, a land where boys became warriors at 7, trained to fight, to obey, and to never retreat. Spartan mothers would tell their sons, "Come back with your shield or on it." Greece's strength was not in unity, but in brilliance, in art, in thought, and courage. As centuries passed, a new light rose over Athens, a light of philosophy, science, and beauty. There walked a man named Socrates, questioning everything: truth, virtue, and the meaning of life. His student, Plato, would dream of a perfect world, and Aristotle, the master of logic, would teach a young Macedonian prince named Alexander. In these streets, theater was born. Great playwrights like Sophocles and Euripides filled stone amphitheaters with the power of tragedy and the laughter of comedy. Artisans carved gods from marble, poets sang of heroes like Achilles and Odysseus, and mathematicians like Pythagoras and Euclid unlocked the mysteries of numbers and geometry. But beyond the art and wisdom, danger was rising from the east. The mighty Persian Empire, whose armies stretched from India to Egypt. When Persia turned its gaze upon Greece, the city-states set aside their differences and stood together. In 490 BCE, at the plains of Marathon, 10,000 Athenians faced the Persian horde. Against impossible odds, they charged, shields locked, hearts unbroken, and won. The messenger, Phidippides, ran from Marathon to Athens to cry victory before collapsing. 10 years later came Thermopylae, where King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans stood against Xerxes' millions. Though they fell, their defiance lit a fire that would never die. Soon after, Greek ships crushed the Persian navy at Salamis, and their victory echoed across the seas. Greece was free, and its golden age began. Athens rose higher than ever before. Under the leadership of Pericles, the city built the Parthenon, a temple so perfect that even today it stands as a symbol of beauty and harmony. But pride brings jealousy, and power brings war. The rivalry between Athens and Sparta turned into the Peloponnesian War, tearing Greece apart for nearly 30 years. In the end, both were weakened. Greece, once the shining light of the world, was left divided, exhausted, and vulnerable. Yet, from the north, a new power was watching, a young kingdom called Macedonia. When Philip's son, Alexander, ascended the throne, the world changed forever. Guided by Aristotle's teachings and driven by boundless ambition, Alexander united the Greek city-states and set out to conquer the known world. He crossed into Asia, defeated the Persians, and marched through deserts, mountains, and rivers, all the way to India. His empire stretched farther than any before him, yet he died young, only 32, leaving no heir. When Alexander fell, his empire shattered into fragments ruled by his generals. The dream of a united Greece ended, and slowly, far away, a new civilization began to rise: Rome. As the fires of Alexander's empire burned out, The echoes of Greek glory faded into whispers carried by the wind. His generals, the Diadochi, tore his vast dominion into fragments: Macedonia, Egypt, and the Seleucid Empire. None could hold his vision together. Greece was no longer united. It was a mosaic of ambition and betrayal. The once proud city-states of Greece now bowed to the rule of foreign kings. Athens struggled to keep her voice, while Sparta had lost her sword. The philosophical schools still taught under the fading columns of the Acropolis, but their words no longer changed the world. Meanwhile, across the western seas, a small but ambitious republic was learning, growing, and waiting: Rome. Founded, as the legend said, by Romulus and Remus, Rome had already begun its rise on the Italian peninsula. Rome was different. It was not built by philosophers or poets, but by soldiers, lawmakers, and dreamers of empire. Its citizens swore loyalty not to a man, but to the res publica, the republic. 2 consuls led the government, advised by the powerful Senate. While Greece discussed ideas, Rome acted. The Romans built roads that crossed mountains, aqueducts that carried water across valleys, and armies that obeyed with iron discipline. They conquered the Italian tribes, then the Carthaginians in the Punic Wars. Under generals like Spidio Africanus, they crushed mighty Hannibal, who had once crossed the Alps with elephants. As Rome expanded, she encountered the decaying remains of Greece and was captivated. Greek art, philosophy, and science poured into Roman hearts. Rome conquered Greece by force, but Greece conquered Rome with culture. When the Roman general Lucius Mummius sacked Corinth in 146 BCE, Greece fell under Roman rule. But even in defeat, Greek influence grew stronger than ever. Greek slaves became teachers, Greek architecture shaped Roman temples, and Greek gods found new names. Zeus became Jupiter, Aphrodite became Venus. Rome now ruled both land and sea. Its legions marched from Spain to Asia Minor, its banners fluttering over the known world. But beneath its glory, cracks began to appear. The Republic was becoming too vast, too powerful, too divided. Senators fought for influence, generals raised their own armies. The people hungered for a leader who could bring order. And destiny answered with Julius Caesar. In 49 BCE, Caesar crossed the Rubicon, a river that divided his army from the heart of Rome. "The die is cast," he said, knowing that stepping forward meant civil war. The Senate trembled. Rome would never be the same again. After years of bloodshed, Caesar triumphed and declared himself dictator for life. But power breeds fear, and on the Ides of March, 44 BCE, he was assassinated by his own senators, including his friend Brutus. "Eat too, Brute?" echoed through marble halls as Caesar fell. Rome descended again into chaos. Civil war raged between Caesar's supporters and his killers. Out of the turmoil rose his adopted son, Octavian, who would become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Under Augustus, peace returned, the Pax Romana. Roads stretched across continents, trade flourished, and Rome became the beating heart of civilization. But though Rome was the new power, her spirit still carried Greece's light. Roman poets like Virgil, Ovid, and Horace drew inspiration from Homer and the myths of Olympus. Sculptors carved gods in the Greek style, and philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius blended Greek stoicism with Roman strength. The 2 worlds, Greece and Rome, had fused into one grand civilization. Greek thought gave Rome its soul, Roman power gave Greece its immortality. Together, they built the foundation of Western civilization, of reason, law, architecture, and art. But history is a cycle of rise and fall. Even as Rome shined, seeds of decline were already sown. Corruption, greed, overexpansion, and the slow fading of virtue. The Republic was long gone. The empire had become a crown heavy with gold and blood. Still, from the ashes of Greece and the might of Rome, humanity inherited an eternal legacy, the belief that knowledge, courage, and vision can outlast empires. The story of Greece and Rome is not just the tale of kings and wars. It is the story of how thought conquered the sword, and how even when empires fall, ideas endure, echoing through the centuries, shaping the world we live in today. The dawn rose over the eternal city, casting golden light on marble temples and towering arches. Rome had become the heart of the known world, a city of 1,000,000 souls, where power, art, and ambition intertwined like ivy around stone. The Republic was gone. Now stood the Empire, with Augustus Caesar as its first and greatest ruler. Under Augustus, peace reigned, Pax Romana, the Roman peace, a miracle after centuries of blood. Roads connected lands from Britannia to Egypt. Merchants, scholars, and soldiers traveled freely, speaking the same tongue, using the same coin, bound by the same laws. The empire became a masterpiece of engineering. Colossal amphitheaters echoed with cheers, and aqueducts carried rivers over valleys. Roman builders raised arches that defied time, and artists carved the faces of gods and emperors in marble perfection. But Rome's greatness did not come without cost. Behind the splendor stood an army of slaves, men and women from conquered lands, their sweat building the empire's glory. Among them, a spirit of rebellion began to stir. One such rebellion was led by Spartacus, a gladiator who rose against Rome's chains. With courage and fury, he gathered thousands of slaves and shook the empire to its core before falling in battle, crucified with his followers along the Appian Way. Even as rebellions died, new forces stirred in the east, a spiritual revolution that no legion could stop. From humble beginnings in Judea, a carpenter's son named Jesus of Nazareth preached love, forgiveness, and faith. At first, Rome mocked this faith, then feared it. Christians were hunted, thrown to lions in the Colosseum, yet their faith spread, carried in whispers through catacombs and markets, in the hearts of slaves and nobles alike. As centuries passed, the empire expanded, reaching its greatest size under Trajan. From the sands of Arabia to the forests of Germania, the Roman eagle flew over lands no empire had ever ruled before. But power breeds pride, and pride leads to decay. Emperors became gods in name, but monsters in action. Nero, mad with vanity, burned half of Rome, then blamed Christians for the flames. Still, the empire endured. Emperors rose and fell, some cruel, some wise, some forgotten. Among them stood Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher king, who ruled with wisdom and restraint. He wrote in his tent while fighting barbarians, teaching that even an emperor must serve virtue. But after his death, Rome's golden age began to crumble. Corruption spread in the Senate, the economy faltered, foreign tribes pressed at the borders. The empire was too vast to hold. In 284 CE, a soldier named Diocletian rose to power and divided the empire in two, the east and the west, hoping to save it. For a time, it worked, but the split only delayed the inevitable. Then came Constantine the Great, who changed everything. He legalized Christianity and moved the capital eastward to a new city, Constantinople, the bridge between Europe and Asia. Christianity, once persecuted, now became Rome's heart. Crosses replaced eagles on banners, temples became churches. The empire that had conquered the world now bowed to a higher faith. But while the East flourished, the West grew weak. Rome, once the queen of cities, decayed, its people starving, its armies unpaid, its senators corrupt. The once mighty legions now fought just to survive. In 410 CE, the unthinkable happened.
The Visigoths, led by Alaric, invaded and sacked Rome. For the first time in 800 years, the eternal city fell. The world gasped. The invincible empire was mortal after all. Still, the Eastern Empire, Byzantium, endured for another 1,000 years, but the Western Empire faded into dust. By 476 CE, the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed. The Roman Empire was gone. Yet Rome never truly died. Its laws became the foundation of modern justice. Its roads shaped nations. Its language, Latin, became the root of Europe's tongues. Its spirit lived on in art, in science, in every dream of greatness. And Greece, though long conquered, lived eternally through Rome, through its philosophy, geometry, and spirit of inquiry. The wisdom of Athens and the power of Rome became the twin pillars of Western civilization. The world they built, the ideas they gave, the wars they fought, all shaped the destiny of humanity. Empires may fall, but the dream of greatness, of knowledge, of freedom, that is eternal. Their story still whispers in the stones, in the books, in the hearts of those who seek wisdom and courage. The Greeks taught us how to think, the Romans taught us how to rule. Together, they taught the world how to rise and how to fall.
After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, the eastern half endured, known as the Byzantine Empire. Its capital, Constantinople, gleamed like a jewel on the Bosporus, guarding the wisdom and wealth of centuries. Marble halls, golden mosaics, and domed churches reflected the glory of Rome and the intellect of Greece. Byzantium was a city of scholars, generals, and emperors. Justinian I, with his wife Theodora, codified Roman law into the Corpus Juris Civilis, preserving the principles of justice that would influence nations centuries later. The empire faced constant threats from Persians, Arabs, and later Turks, yet it endured through diplomacy, strategy, and sheer resilience. Greek philosophers' texts, carefully preserved in Byzantine libraries, bridged the past with the future. Meanwhile, in Western Europe, the seeds of the Middle Ages were being sown. Rome's ruins became fortresses, monasteries, and churches. Knowledge from Greece and Rome survived through Christian monks and Islamic scholars, particularly in Spain, North Africa, and the Middle East. As centuries passed, trade, exploration, and learning revived in Italy. By the 14th century, Florence, Venice, and Rome pulsed with intellectual energy. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo studied the human body, nature, and architecture, inspired by ancient Greece and Rome. Greek geometry influenced perspective in painting, Roman architecture inspired domes and arches, and the Latin language became the medium of scholarship and science. Europe was rediscovering the civilizations that once ruled the world. The legacy of Greece and Rome was not only in stone and scrolls, but in ideas, democracy, law, philosophy, and art. These ideas transcended time, spreading across continents through trade, conquest, and eventually printing presses. Thus, the light of ancient Greece and the power of Rome shone beyond the collapse of empires, guiding the rebirth of civilization in the Renaissance and shaping modern Europe. By the 16th century, Europe was transformed. The ideas of Greece and Rome had spread through universities, libraries, and courts. The principles of law codified by Rome influenced emerging nation-states, while Greek philosophy guided scientists like Galileo and Newton. The Roman Republic inspired democratic revolutions centuries later. The founding fathers of the United States drew heavily from Roman principles, civic duty, Senate deliberation, checks and balances, creating a government that echoed the past while looking to the future. Art and architecture across the world still bear Greek and Roman fingerprints. Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian columns grace government buildings, museums, and theaters. Statues of gods, emperors, and heroes inspire awe in plazas from Rome to Washington, D.C. Even modern literature, theater, and philosophy owe much to Greece and Rome. Tragedy and comedy, epic poetry, and rhetorical debate formed the backbone of Western culture. The study of law, ethics, and governance carries their imprint. Military strategy, civic planning, and engineering, too, roads, bridges, aqueducts, remain lessons in innovation. Engineers and generals look back to Caesar, Alexander, and the architects of Rome for inspiration. The story of Greece and Rome proves that empires may fall, but ideas endure. Democracy, law, philosophy, and art, these are eternal. Across centuries and continents, the legacy of these civilizations continues to guide, challenge, and inspire humanity. From the Parthenon to the Colosseum, from manuscripts to skyscrapers, from philosophers to scientists, the voice of Greece and Rome whispers through time. Knowledge, courage, and creativity outlive kings and empires. Their story is eternal, not in conquest or gold, but in the minds and hearts of generations. And as long as humans dream, learn, and create, Greece and Rome live on. The echoes of Greece and Rome did not fade with the fall of empires. Across centuries, their ideas traveled through manuscripts, scholars, and explorers, shaping the course of human civilization. The Renaissance was only the beginning, a bridge connecting ancient wisdom to the modern world. By the 17th and 18th centuries, European thinkers like Montesquieu, Locke, and Rousseau studied Roman law and governance, building frameworks for modern democracy. The Roman Republic became a model for civic duty, balanced government, and rule of law. In the New World, the Founding Fathers drew heavily from Roman principles. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson envisioned a republic where laws, not kings, governed men. The Capitol, inspired by Roman architecture, stood as a beacon of these ancient ideals. Art and architecture across the globe bear Greek and Roman influence. From museums in Europe to government buildings in America, classical columns, arches, and domes reflect a timeless aesthetic. Sculptures of gods and heroes inspire wonder and reflection, echoing human ambition across millennia. Philosophy, too, continues to guide humanity. Greek ideas of logic, ethics, and democracy, combined with Roman law and civic thought, form the backbone of modern education, politics, and science. Scholars study Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, and Seneca, not as relics but as living mentors. Engineering and architecture still pay homage to Rome. Bridges, aqueducts, and roads built in antiquity inspire modern construction. Military strategy, logistics, and governance are taught using the campaigns of Alexander, Caesar, and Augustus as enduring examples. The arts, literature, theater, and music remain infused with the spirit of Greece and Rome. Tragedy, comedy, epic poetry, and rhetorical debate influence playwrights, poets, and filmmakers around the world. Even today, democracy, law, civic responsibility, and artistic excellence owe their roots to these ancient civilizations. Greece gave the world reason. Rome gave the world order. Together, they gave humanity the framework to dream, to create, and to endure. History has shown that empires may rise and fall, kingdoms may crumble, but ideas endure. The principles of governance, philosophy, and art live on in classrooms, courts, cities, and hearts. Every road we travel, every law we follow, every story we tell carries their legacy. The story of Greece and Rome is a testament to the power of human thought and creativity. They remind us that civilization is not just built with stone or steel, but with ideas that outlive kings, battles, and even time itself. And so the legacy continues. From the philosophers of Athens to the emperors of Rome, from the Renaissance scholars to modern innovators, the eternal voice of Greece and Rome whispers, knowledge, courage, and vision endure beyond empires, shaping the world for generations yet to come.